Iowa football spring practice is now officially in our rearview mirror. And with that being said, it's portal season. Just about a week left of the open portal window this post-spring period. There are some programs, such as like Oregon, still have their spring games in front of them. Oregon's coming up this Saturday. But Iowa's completion means some Hawkeyes jumping into the portal. And we start with Hawkeye quarterback Deacon Hill, catching some people off guard. I'm not totally shocked by this news. We'll talk about it. It obviously helps Iowa as it relates to scholarship distribution. A lot of Iowa fans were frustrated by the fact that Deacon Hill was taking the majority of the one snaps. I was not. I'll explain if you didn't catch my explanation with Coach Patterson on Saturday. Before we get to the news regarding Deacon Hill, I do want to take a moment to thank Under the Kitchen Randy Engel down in Mitchellville. If you haven't checked out his selection of authentic Hawkeye prints that are signed for you and your Hawkeye friends and family, check it all out. You can visit his new website, underthekitchen.square.site. That's underthekitchen.square.site. He's also got a Facebook page. Search Under the Kitchen on Facebook. So the news, Iowa quarterback Deacon Hill has officially announced his departure and entered his name into the transfer portal. So as everybody will recall, he's been here just over a year, in spite of the fact that he played a lot last season. Remember, he transferred in from Wisconsin, was originally, after entering the portal from Wisconsin over a year ago, he committed to Fordham. John Budmeyer really became involved with quarterbacks a couple years back, and Iowa needed a body after Carson May left for the transfer portal following that 2022 season. So the Hawkeyes grabbed Deacon Hill, pull him away from Fordham. He ends up coming to Iowa. And a couple of the major themes throughout his career, really liked by his teammates, appears to be a really good leader. I do recall a semi-viral video of him at the Citrus Bowl when he was pulled for freshman Marco Lainez, and you saw Deacon Hill's body language toward Marco, very supportive, just what you'd expect out of a strong leader and teammate. But with that being said, Deacon struggled on the football field, and he was thrust into a position you could argue was unfair to him. All right, his quarterbacks coach, Brian Ferentz, even though I know John Budmeyer was working with the quarterbacks a lot and was the de facto QB's coach, look, your position coach, Brian Ferentz, and your OC knows very little about quarterback play. I'll stand by that. Knows a lot more than I do, but for a guy who's a former center, comparative to the rest of college football and these other staffs that have former quarterbacks and longtime OCs, I think that certainly worked to Deacon's disadvantage, especially since he came into Iowa with really no game experience and was thrust into a starting role with the injury to Cade McNamara during the first quarter of the season. So I feel bad for Deacon in that regard, but boy, he also got some incredibly valuable experience, and I'm sure somebody will pick him up. Now, will it be at the Power 5 level? I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I know one thing we've talked about is Deacon's weight, and a lot of people, including Coach Patterson, have advocated for Deacon to lose some weight. Maybe he's lost a few pounds, but he's still, I think, bigger than you'd like, especially for someone you'd like to help become more mobile, quicker with his feet. I think his pocket awareness, pocket presence has lacked at times. He seemed to be quite susceptible to fumbles, strip sacks, etc., not to mention poor throws. We saw in the final spring practice of the spring season, Deacon Hill had a couple of horrendous throws, but he's also got a big arm. He's got some good traits in addition to the off-field and the leadership. He's got some good traits, big arm, had a nice throw down the sideline to Caden Weegan on Saturday that ended up falling incomplete, but I don't think that was on Deacon Hill, but just erratic. He's got to learn to take some speed off that fastball, but maybe he finds a spot in the FCS, and if he does, he could end up being a starter. I mean, right away, I wouldn't doubt that. I think that game experience last year for Deacon will really help him. Now, what does it mean for Iowa? A lot of people expected Deacon to remain at Iowa in spite of the fact that he struggled last year simply because they don't have the numbers, right? As far as the quarterback room is concerned, they already lost Joe Labus during this past offseason. By various accounts, Marco Lainez has been very up and down with his arm during the spring season. We did see Saturday he's got potential, and he certainly got the legs to be electric on the ground. But for that reason, Tim Lester has given Deacon Hill majority of the one snaps throughout spring, and he talked about that last Thursday, just the need to get not just the quarterback position, but all 11 guys up to speed with the offense, and he felt Deacon Hill gave them the best chance to be in the right spots, be on the same page, and I understand that with the new offensive perspective. So Marco Lainez was getting basically all of the 2s and the 3s. Cade McNamara is expected to be back by June. So, again, assuming he's healthy, Deacon Hill was not going to start this year anyways. Now, could he have been the starter had Cade went down again? Maybe, but I do wonder what this means for Iowa. Of course, the portal window has been open for a little over a week now, and you do wonder, has Iowa made contact with a quarterback? Could that be part of this? Brendan Sullivan is a trendy name right now, although he just entered the portal today. Tim Lester did offer him out of high school, the former Northwestern starting quarterback as a grad transfer, but Lester offered him when Lester was at Western Michigan. Would he be interested in coming and vying for the starting role? I have a hard time seeing him coming to Iowa, given the fact that he appeared to be the odds-on favorite to start again at Northwestern this year. But who knows, maybe Lester can pull him in, or maybe Iowa's made contact with someone else and basically made it clear to Deacon that, hey, you're not going to be the 1 or the 2 this year. We want to help you out. Go somewhere else. I'm sure Iowa feels somewhat indebted to Deacon to some extent because he did fill a role last year when they were extremely thin at the quarterback position. And maybe that means Marco Lainez started to gain some ground on Deacon Hill during spring practice. I certainly don't think there was much of a gap on Saturday as it relates to the overall quarterback climate that we saw on the football field. So best of wishes to Deacon Hill. Will Iowa make a push for someone else? We'll see. Iowa now down to 88 scholarships. Check that, 87, because Iowa tight end Cale Vanderbush has entered the portal. We'll talk about that here later on as well. But just wanted to keep everybody up to date on the portal. This news just coming in this morning. Let's keep it locked right here for the latest. Corey Brada from the Hawkeye of the Storm.